Okay, so we are going to finish up our notes here. We're going to find the intersection of two lines. So here is basically our directions of doing that. We will have to plug it into the y equals, and then we're going to do that second trace intersect, and then press enter 3 times. Yes, I might have some. I think this is blank. Okay, so remember that for this, there is all these instructions. So if you ever forget, remember you can go through these instructions to figure out how to do the vertex, x-intercepts, fractions, as well as writing the equations there, okay? Okay, so make sure you have a graphing calculator with you because we will need to do that. There we go. Okay, so here, when we're doing finding where the intersections are, yeah, there we go. Okay, so when we plug this into our graphing calculator, we do need to make sure that we solve for y on both of these, because that's the only way you can graph any really function here. So on both of these, we will need to solve for y. So on my top equation, I'm going to move these 7x over. So I have negative 12y equals negative 7x minus 22. And then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 12. So negative 7 over negative 12 is just 7/12 x. And then negative 22 over negative 12 is just a plus 22 over 12. Okay. We can simplify the 22 over 12, but really the calculator will already do that for you, which is nice. So, okay, so now we're going to do the same thing on our second fraction here. We are going to solve for y, okay? So when we do that, I need to move my negative 5x over to the other side by adding it. So I have 8y equals positive 5x plus 14. Now I'm going to divide everything by 8. So I have y equals 5 over 8x plus 14 over 8. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. So those are the two equations that we're going to plug into our graphing calculator. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go. Okay. So in our graphing calculator here, I gotta turn mine on. We got y equals. So you're gonna press the y equals button here. That's where you always graph anything. Yes. Okay, so now you might see some stuff. It's because, of course, we did some of the stuff. So press clear to get rid of everything. Remember, the clear button is right underneath the arrows. Okay, and I'm going to do that here. Press clear. Now, our two equations that we did, we're going to go ahead. There we go. That's a lot better. Now we're going to plug them in. Now remember to do a fraction. We're going to do alpha, the green button, and then y equals. Okay, so alpha, y equals. And then we do n divided by d. Oops, maybe on the top one. There we go. So I'm going to put the 7/12, so 7, and then down arrow to do 12. And then you want to right arrow over so we can do the X. Remember, the X button that we need is going to be right next to the alpha, the green key. So we press X. And then we do the same thing for 22 divided by 12. I'm going to do alpha, y equals for my fraction. And then make sure you do a plus sign in between. Oops, I'm going to delete this whole thing. There we go. So 22 over 12. Now we do it to the other one. So I do once again alpha y equals to ever get a fraction. I'm going to have my 5 over 8. And then right arrow so I have x. And then plus, and then once again alpha y equals, and then 14 over 8. Now remember, if we want to make sure that our graph is the standard, so remember that goes from -10 to +10 on both the x and y axes, you can press the zoom button, which is the third one at the top, and then go to number 6, which is the z standard. Okay, so you press that, and then it will get to graph. You have the normal axes from -10 to +10 on both the x and y, and then we should have the 2. Now it looks like, oh, it's not 2, but there are 2 lines there. They look very similar, right? Because really the slopes are very, very close to each other, and then probably their y-intercepts are very close. So now let's talk about how to use this to find the intersection. So I'm going to do my second and then trace button. So you always go to second trace for everything. So remember, 0 represents the x-intercepts, min and max represent our vertex, intersect, that's what we want. We want to figure out where the 2 intersections of the 2 lines here. So I press that. Now here's the nice part. When we do intersection and we're only finding 1, we just press enter 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And it'll give you the answer. So we get 2/3 as our solution. And remember, when we did our systems, right, we write it as an ordered pair. So 2, 3, that's my answer. There you go. Okay, now we do the same thing for number 6. Now, on number 5, notice we had 2 linear. On number 6, we have a quadratic and a linear. Now, that means, like when we went in our last unit, when we did this algebraically, we usually get 2 solutions because it intersects twice, okay? Now, we have to do the same thing. We have to solve for y for both of the equations, both of the functions, because that's how we're going to plug it into our graphing calculator. So on my top one, x squared minus 7y plus 3, I'm going to move both the x squared and 3 to the other side. So I have negative 7y equals negative x squared minus 3. Now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 7. So I have y equals, I get a positive 1/7 x squared, then plus 3/7. On my second equation, to solve for y, I'm going to move the 2x over. So I subtract that. So now I have negative y equals negative 2x plus 3. And remember, y can't be negative. So I'm going to multiply, or you can divide by a -1. So my y becomes positive, my 2x becomes positive, and then I have a minus 3. So now I'm going to plug both of these into my graphing calculator here. Okay. So I go once again back to y equals. Okay, you always do y equals. I'm going to press clear so I can get rid of basically that equation. I do alpha y equals to get my 1/7. I do an x. Okay, and then make sure you do the squared button on the graphing calculator there. And then I have plus alpha y equals, and then 3 divided by 7. And then the other one, that should be nice and easy, right? 2x minus 3. So 2x minus 3. And then we'll press graph. Okay. So once you have both those equations in, you press graph, as we always do. And you do that when you're finding the vertex and the x-intercepts. Okay, so we get our parabola, and then we're going to see that we get the line. Okay, now notice that we will intersect twice, but we only see really the one intersection. So this is where we have to change our window, and sometimes when you're changing it, it's going to be a guess and check type of thing. Okay, so here I notice that my intersection is going to be kind of in the upper y values, the max area. So I actually have to take my y max and change it to be a bigger number. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to go to my window. So you press window. And then I go to y max. So y max means you want anything above the x-axis. Okay, anything above. So I'm going to change this to a 20. Now you'll see YSCL, that just means scale. So that means you can go by ones or twos, threes, fours, whatever you would like. I'm just going to keep my scale by ones, okay? And then I'm going to press graph again. So let's see if we are able to see that intersection. If not, we might have to change something. Okay. Ooh, so we're almost close to seeing that intersection. So it does seem like my y value, my max, is probably good enough. It's my x value that I have to change now. And it looks like I have to change my x max because it goes past a positive 10. So I'm going to go back to window, and where I see x max, I'm going to just make that 20. Okay, and I just randomly chose that number. You could try 15 to see if that works, or go to 20. Okay. And then we're going to graph. Okay. Okay, so we kind of basically, we barely get it, but that's good enough for us. Sometimes if you barely get it, it's okay if you don't see it completely, okay? So we have two places where our linear and quadratic intersect, okay? So what happens is that we have to do this process twice. So once again, I'm going to press my second and then my trace, and then go to number 5 for intersect, okay? Now, because there are two places, I need to place my cursor close to the intersection so I find the correct intersection. So remember, when you move your cursor, you can only use your left and right arrows. That is it. So I'm going to find the intersection at the lower area, okay? So I want to have my cursor close to it so the calculator knows, hey, I need to find that intersection point instead of the other. What?
Just like close to it?
Yeah, close to it, yes. So once I get my cursor close to it, now we just press enter 3 times. So 1, 2, 3, and then we get our answer. So 2, 1 is one of the intersection points. So we write that as an ordered pair.
What is that E mean?
What E?
Below the CT and intersection.
That is just part of the y-axis, actually. That's not an E. Yeah. So you'll see that, yeah.
Oh, that's silly.
Yeah. Okay, so now we do the same thing. Second trace, go to number 5, intersect again. Now I need to move my cursor to the upper part where they intersect so it knows that, oh, I need to find that intersection point. Once again, just place it close to it so the calculator knows. Okay, and once again, you got to use your left or right arrows. After you do that, press enter 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And then we get our answer, 1221. That's the other intersection point. So we write that as an ordered pair.
That's pretty good.
And there you go. Okay. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, so for the rest of the time being, you guys are going to be working